Hello, my fellow sketchbook schemers. I've been sketching, I've been scheming, and I want to show you what I've been working on. Here's a look at the stickers that inspired me from art friends and acquaintances. And I'm excited to share with you my sketchbook number 18. This took me about 3 months to fill. They all pretty much do. And I tried some new things. This was the first time I ever tried to make an editorial illustration just for fun. I had my eye out for an interesting news article and I really loved this one. I'll put a link down below to anything I mention. At a tea party with scientists, this ape showed some imagination. So I imagined this little ape girl with her teddy bear having a tea party. And then this was welcoming in the new year with an art hang party. Really fun references. There's one in every crowd. Someone's got to be the wise guy. And then this was from a Sophie McPike draw along of people taking mirror selfies. This one was untimed, but you'll see I do some more in the quick times that she gave. And this, I just thought it'd be fun to play around with these colors, kind of like a giraffe-inspired creature. No reference. Here are the blind contours. So without looking at the paper, we have 30 seconds to try to capture the woman taking a mirror selfie. I'll tell you about this texture later. And then these were 1 minute single line drawings. I did peek a bit here and there. I liked this woman's pose a lot, kind of crouching down, giving the peace sign. This was from an Unsplash image by this artist. I like the contrast of the colors against the gray background. These were from, I took ink and blew it through a straw to try to make this coral pattern. I had had that idea, I think, in my last sketchbook, and I finally gave it a try. Capturing textures with a kneadable eraser. I took a second version of this graphic memoir class in person. I had done once before about how to make diary comics or illustrated stories. These were like sort of fodder we did in class as warm-ups, trying to come up with an avatar for our comics. Another art hang party with pugs of Instagram as well, and we had 10 minutes each. This was especially fun because these dogs are such cuties and they were the real pets of people in the community who submitted the photos. This was a draw along with Sketchbook School celebrating Dr. King's birthday. This was kind of like a warm-up in the graphic memoir class, coming up with different textures that could serve as backgrounds. So rise and grind.
Like many retirement days, yesterday I was blessed with hours and hours of unscheduled time. But I jumped onto Fallout 76 first thing, and that day got away from me. Those hours gobbled up faster than my teenage quarters at the arcade when I first learned Pac-Man. Clearly, I needed some rules. Laundry, exercise, art. Today went much better. Goals completed, I could wander the wasteland to my heart's content. Ghouls, watch your backs.
Oh, I'm you, sweetie. You just give it a little time.
This was more ink blotches that I had blown through a straw. And this, I had made this little portrait of an Elizabethan woman, but I didn't really like how her head came out, to be honest, and I thought it'd be fun if her crown is, you know, kind of like fire, or I'm not sure what. And I found this little quote to go with it: "Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown." Let's make them a little more uneasy sometimes, am I right? This is inspired by Fallout. I love that video game and TV show. My husband and I went to visit our older son, lives in the Boston area, and the ship, Old Ironsides, the USS Constitution, is still in service. It was also a robot captain named Old Ironsides after the ship. This was a photo I had taken years ago in Costa Rica of a caterpillar that got invaded by fungus, and it grew out and kind of took over the caterpillar's body. But then I thought it was fun. This was the color palette for this, and then I tried using the exact same color palette for just pretty random, I guess, but I love this quote from Larry David. Anyone can be confident with a full head of hair, but a confident bald man, there's your diamond in the rough. True words. Art hang party featuring Dick Van Dyke. I feel like I did manage a likeness in a couple of them. Okay, this was for a diary comic. We brainstormed all these childhood games we could remember. These were lessons you learned from playing childhood games. Keep your fists up and your head on your shoulders. Life lesson from Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Oh my pocket locked off.
Monopoly, unfortunately, I really believe this is true. Rich people aren't satisfied until they've bled everyone else dry. So I have like the jackboot stomping on the head of the Scotty. And from Operation, sometimes we're done in by the tiniest of mistakes. Bzz. This was like a little lino cut I did. It doesn't look much like me, but I used one of those avatars as the inspo for that. And then this was just a fun idea. Spirograph had been one of the games I brainstormed that I really loved as a child, or tools, I guess. And I made a homemade cardboard spirograph. The human mind always makes progress, but it is a progress in spirals. I think we might have backslid a bit lately, but hopefully we can get back to that progress sometime soon. And unusual lighting. I loved these references from an art hang party. These ones I stuck with the time given, and then on this one I did it untimed. I'm always a little scared trying to put in shadows, but I thought that one came out pretty good. And this was actually from a notebook. I was taking notes while I was listening to a lecture about Frida Kahlo at my local art league's presentation. So I kind of sketched this quick picture of her and then I colored it in later at home. I've been doing this for many sketchbooks in a row, having at least one animal-headed humanoid doll. So I did a fox, and she was a pretty foxy lady. So that took me to the Jimi Hendrix Experience album, Are You Experienced? And these trippy eyes were really from the shirt he was wearing on the album cover. I'll show you for a sec. And I had a lot of fun with this one. Check it out.
Here I come, baby. I'm coming to get you.
More homework for my graphic memoir class. Rookie mistake, a true story from my childhood. I was at my big brother's Little League party, empty bun at the ready, but no one paid attention to the tiny girl amid the impossibly tall boys, not even the man at the grill in charge of the hot dogs. I knew a way, though. Crawl under the grill and ask him face to face. My screams when my arm touched the grill sure got everyone's attention. They got me my hot dog, too. I still have the scar 50 years later. It's a very indelible memory of, I'm shy and everyone ignores me and then I make a mess of it. That's kind of my MO. I try to use oil pastels every once in a while, but not my fave. I loved this art hang party for February, and the references are so much fun. This was the second year in a row I did this one with Melissa's art hang party. I love these references so much, and I just love this watercolor with the brush pen. I think I had a little Tombow marker in there too. She just cracks me up. She's kind of like, where did I put my car keys? And this man is so sad. I wish I made his face a little lighter, but I think you can still experience his extreme sadness. And then I loved these ones.
When you get back, we're gonna cha-cha all night long.
And I love these two guys. I think they're in love. They're having a nice relaxing moment at the park. I wish I hadn't put this guy in the way of them, but love it. Love these bird people references. More graphic memoir, homework, Spotted in the Wild. This is from a true story. We did all the fodder and brainstorming in class, trying to make these like animal character avatars, and I picked this little story. Oh, so that was another part of the fodder we did. I am such a homebody, especially in the winter. So we had written a little like one-page anecdote about something that had happened recently, and then we just picked sentences from the anecdote to illustrate with an animal character. I am such a homebody, especially in winter. I must have ditched my plans 5 times before dragging myself there. But I went. Hi, Marcy. We've been missing you at Open Art Studio. She motivated me to start attending again. Victory! She made me leave the house. Very fun, and I'm glad I got out and started going again. So that was my way of trying to tell that story. I am a shy introvert who doesn't like to leave the house, but I do it. I do it on occasion. I love this rooster. Tried to put in a lot of texture with Tombow marker. And this background I made by like just smearing acrylics using a credit card. And I had tried that smearing here to make the background for the rooster, but I didn't end up liking how he looked, so I just glued that in and left it. This one I had put down pretty dark, moody watercolors in the background using salt for texture, and then I went over with this acrylic and Posca pens on top. I kind of like the look, and then I added texture with the kneadable eraser. Some kind of a catch-all page. I liked this little master study. So this, I drew the rhino, and I really wanted to try to put in texture. So I used this one, and I stamped it over and over, shaping the kneadable eraser into the shape. I messed up here and there and covered it with the green, but I tried to put the texture of the rhino's hide in there. And as far as I know, Abraham Lincoln, I tried to research it. There's no evidence he ever saw a rhino in real life. But here's his chance.
Hey there.
Charm.
Art hang party. This was really fun. I cheated a bit, but the idea was put down the color first, just the big blobby shapes, and then put in the line art, and you get kind of a bit of a freer, looser look. And then on this spread, I had already put down this, and I got this new set of Peerless watercolors. I love them. I had tried a small sample from an art box, and I've just been jonesing for them ever since. So I got myself a set and swatched it. I'll show you a little of that. Okay, so coffee is our love language. For Valentine's Day, I woke up to get my half and half for my coffee, and my husband had left me this note stuck to the half and half, which I thought was really sweet. We don't really exchange cards or anything anymore. Those little things go a long way though. So I just sort of copied his idea but made it into a pop-up Valentine card. So here's the fridge, and you open it up and see the half and half, and you open it up and see the Valentine. So I worked on that while he was sleeping, and then I could show him the Valentine. A leopard in a tree, and I kind of liked this one. I did it first. I usually use pretty heavy lines, but I didn't want to, but I did kind of want to try it again. So I tried it again on brown paper with the brush pen and heavy lines. I don't know, I kind of like each of them in different ways. Putting those Peerless watercolors into action, I tried swatching 3 colors at a time and seeing how they mixed. It was fun playing with the really vivid colors. I think if I had made her mouth like up and over in the right spot. I might have liked it, but it's okay. Diary, comic, homework for graphic memoir. This was fodder we did in class. We had to brainstorm objects and tell a little anecdote about each object. And then I ended up focusing on the football memory for my diary comic. This was other kind of fodder to warm up and make patterns in circles. Deflated, elated. My oldest brother showed a rare interest in me when I was about 10. He coached me in the backyard to prepare for a punt, pass, and kick competition. Punting was a fail. Imagine pass, actual pass. Passing was a disgrace. I nearly fell over while kicking. The whole debacle left me deflated. But at least my brother ignored me again after that. I like it. I thought it was a fun way to tell an anecdote. It's like a different way of thinking to try to tell it as much visually as you can. And I kind of like the simplified face with the floating head, just kind of playing around. Some cats from Sketchbook school that I think they kind of all went awry except maybe this guy. I like it. He's got it going on. I made this using a gel plate print. These shapes were put in here using a piece of corrugated cardboard. And then I used the leftovers to kind of make this vase. And I put some gold leaf over it for ha-has. Just some sketching with these new colored gel pens that I picked up that I really like. Just regular old pens from a convenience store. I love Fallout when you play with this character Strong. He's a super mutant. And just if you engage him in conversation, he might say, "Need Strong to smash something." It just cracks me up just about every time. This is a kind of abstracted pattern inspired by a monarch butterfly. I'll show you the artist who designed it in a second. And then I punched out these little circles and glued them there, and I thought it's really cool to see them. So here's the artist who designed the pattern, and it was a really relaxing meditative session. I'll link it. And then for this page, I decided to try to extend the pattern using complementary colors. We took a nearly 1 month long trip to New Mexico, my husband and I, in March. Ephemera from the trip, and these are all the places we went. So I did a whole travel vlog and sketchbook tour of the rest of this sketchbook, but I'll give you the highlights here. This was in the Albuquerque area, but another mile up, so like 10,000 feet. The elevation is tough to get used to when you live at sea level, especially like I do. And my husband was a maniac going into this cave. We were fine and he was safe the whole time, but I was pretty nervous. And I tried a new technique that I'm calling an art sandwich, where I showed my husband in the cave, and then I'll just give you a peek. Dusty?
Footprints back here. Footprints. Dusty for sure.
Don't go much further. Get your kicks on Route 66. We did a long road trip to Tucumcari, mainly because the city is mentioned in a Little Feat song that I've always loved. I really like this, so we stopped at the Auto Museum, checked out the old cars from the heyday of Route 66, and then this was a different site, the Blue Hole, but I tried to kind of make it like the cliff he's jumping off is part of the roof of the car. Petroglyph National Monument. We had a nice walk, and the idea was you could see all these petroglyphs, these old carvings by Native American and early Spanish settlers. My eyesight is terrible, so I squinted and zoomed as much as I could, and then tried to draw some of the petroglyphs later on. This was another excursion to visit Chaco Culture National Historical Park, and it's a huge site with these remains of great houses. And I really loved this. I slowed down a lot and tried to get these sketches as good as I could, and I really like how this came out. We were able to see native dancers. They were performing, this was the deer dance, and they performed a star dance and a white buffalo dance as well. And then this is just some collection of ephemera and a couple of sketches, and I kind of collected some of the metal on the trip. A token from Meow Wolf. I'll show you that. A flattened penny from the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, and a beer cap. Meow Wolf, a crazy cool art exhibition that we went to in Santa Fe. There's a whole story to try to decipher, but we never got quite the hang of the story, but you can like walk into the refrigerator, which is a portal to another world, or maybe it's a dryer. So cool and trippy, and I tried to kind of get across the like trippy feel of the exhibition. This was from Bandelier National Monument, and you can climb up ladders to peek into the ancient cliff dwellings. This was a view from inside one of the dwellings, and I liked how I put in enough texture and shading afterwards with some colored pencil to kind of give the depth. I loved the Museum of International Folk Art. It was just visually exhausting. There was so much to look at. Then we did part of the road trip. We went up to Taos and we rode along this pretty big route called the Enchanted Circle, where you see great views in the mountains and the changing landscape. And we visited a fish hatchery, saw the little fish being grown into full-size trout to be released. And this was from Alamogordo, world's biggest pistachio nut. You can visit it right in Alamogordo. The city is pretty near White Sands National Park. What a blast! What a blast! We did some hiking, we did some sledding.
Baby Bellets.
It was very beautiful and just a very unique environment to explore. This one, first of all, I loved Carlsbad Caverns. And this was just from one of the references. When my husband and I looked at it, we imagined it looked kind of like this goblin king in front of a big court. I just tried to get some of the darkness and chaos of being in those caves. Some ephemera. And this was from a black and white room I sat in Meow Wolf. And this was a view from our ATV after we went in through a big mud puddle. And then my husband and I made a book nook of this. It was a very nice gift we were given, and it's joined my sketchbooks as a way to light up my shelf. I really love it. And some more odds and ends. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, let me know which spread you thought was your favorite, if you saw anything you might want to try, and I really hope you have a great day full of sketching and full of scheming. Take care.
Often sketching, always scheming. Often sketching, always scheming. Sketch for scheming, yeah.